IndyCar racing has gained quite a reputation for spectacular accidents. This video in particular will show 10 of those spectacular moments throughout history. However, this is not a glorification of the accidents themselves, rather a celebration of man's ability to conquer machine. So, in the style of the old Diamond P Sports VHS tapes, this is IndyCar, and they walked away.
In the going, it doesn't surprise me a bit that Mario...
And an accident, the 11 car, that's Kevin Cogan, up on its side in the pit area. A serious accident in the pit area, but look at Cogan. The car cut in half. The car in half, but Kevin Cogan climbs out. This accident occurring up at the head of the pit area. The crews are there, no fire. And once again, a tribute to the safety of these cars. Kevin Cogan climbs out of his broken and split machine.
It's hard to believe that Kevin Cogan not only survived, but stood up and walked away unscathed from this accident early in the 1989 Indianapolis 500. Cogan's march clipped the outside wall coming out of turn 4 and spun backwards into the inside wall, splitting the car in two. But that wasn't the worst of it, as the car caught the attenuated pit barrier at the entrance to the pit lane, pitching the car over on its side and sliding for several hundred more yards until finally coming to a rest. Miraculously, no fire and no cockpit damage to speak of. And once again, Kevin Cogan walked away a very lucky man.
Dario and Danica on the high side. And here comes Marco. Oh, look out! Airborne! Frankini's upside down. Dixon is involved. The wheels touched. Weldon is involved.
This was a sight that was all too common in this era of IndyCar racing. Two drivers touching wheels. In this case, it was Dan Weldon and Dario Franchitti racing for the lead in the final IndyCar race at Michigan International Speedway. Franchitti's car was pitched up into the air, and as it landed on the ground, it was hit in the cockpit by Scott Dixon. Miraculously, both Dixon and Franchitti did not suffer head injuries, particularly Franchitti, whose roll bar was sheared off in the impact as the car slid down the racetrack. However, this miraculous, spectacular pileup saw the greatest sight of all, which was Franchitti's head popping up and walking away from this incident. And if you thought that escape was impressive from Dario Franchitti, believe it or not, at the very next race at Kentucky Speedway, Franchitti flipped again. This time, missing the checkered flag at the end of the race, ramping over the back of Kosuke Matsura's car, backflipping into the wall, and once again, Dario Franchitti walked away.
As I was carrying my tire out, his left rear hit the tire I was carrying, knocked it out. We've got to go back upstairs.
We've got a car in the big problem. Several cars off, and one of them has flipped over. 3 cars involved. Michael Andretti.
Like Michael Andretti, looked like Mark Blundell in that bright Motorola colored car.
Fans of the Andretti family will always remember 1998 at Mid-Ohio as the most spectacular escape of Michael Andretti's long and storied career. But don't take my word for it. Here's Michael Andretti himself describing the incident.
I remember every part of it because it didn't hurt. It wasn't a bad accident physically. So, yeah, it all started actually in the keyhole where Zanardi ran into P.J. Jones and bent his wing. And so I was coming up to pass P.J. Jones through the kink, and I had him pass, and I was going, and he couldn't turn the steering wheel because in the kink he couldn't turn, and he ran straight into my right rear with his left front, and that's what spun me into the inside wall and just went for a wild ride. I just remember seeing green, blue, green, blue, green, blue, green, blue. And the whole time I was hoping, please don't run into anything and hit anything. And luckily I ended up in the kitty litter at the end and was able to walk away.
IndyCar fans finally remember the 2015 500-mile race at Fontana as one of the greatest races ever. It also ended with one of the greatest escapes ever, as in the mad scramble to get the white flag, contact in the pack caused Ryan Briscoe and Ryan Hunter-Reay to spin wildly through the grass. Air got underneath Briscoe's car and he went flipping through the grass, gouging a huge hole in the turf and landing, thankfully, right side up. Now, Briscoe walked away from this spectacular accident and even had a sense of humor about the whole thing when he visited the site of the crash later that evening.
So, we're here at the scene of the impact after a flight of maybe a couple of 100 yards. So, look at that. I can just disappear into this hole. Ah. Feels good.
We got a yellow, trouble. Oh, big upside down. Wow.
Yellow flag will come out on that one with 9 to go.
The yellow wheel looks like Guerrero.
Let's hope he's okay. Safety trucks are rolling.
There's a lot of parts and pieces that aren't connected to each other.
Stewart
right now.
goes by on the backstretch. Here comes the ambulance. Fortunately, no fire. Looks
There's
like
Guerrero crawling out from underneath it.
He's all right.
Wow.
A little shaken up. But Roberto Guerrero climbs out from under that battered and broken car.
This miraculous escape for Roberto Guerrero punctuated IndyCar's second visit to the Las Vegas Motor Speedway. Guerrero was caught out by dramatically slowing Marco Greco and was launched over Greco's rear tire, pointing skyward into the air, crashing down to the pavement, and then rolling violently in the grass on the back straightaway. This spectacular onboard footage tells you everything you need to know about this crash.
That much has been decided, but there are several championships still to come, and certainly oh, we have a huge wreck.
Oh, I think that's Parker Johnstone. Parker Johnstone, I don't know what happened.
IndyCar racing at Road America is no stranger to massive accidents, and the Texaco Haviland 200 in 1996 was no exception, seeing several massive accidents, including, at the aptly named Canada Corner, Greg Moore going off in this spectacular crash, and then under that yellow, Davy Jones somehow managing to get upside down. Of course, he's not the upside down crash in this race that's on this list. That belongs to Parker Johnstone, who made contact, or perhaps rather Paul Tracy made contact with Parker Johnstone using the chrome horn to flatten Johnstone's rear tire, spinning Johnstone and flipping him over dramatically in turn 1. But once again, as with every crash in this video, Johnstone popped out of the car on his own power and walked away. However, Parker Johnstone's crown as the Flip Meister at Road America would be usurped just 10 years later.
Behind them, great day for Katherine Legge. Dan Buck wants to salvage.
Oh, huge crash. Huge crash. Oh, no. Huge incident. Huge incident.
It's Katherine.
Katherine Legge miraculously walked out of the medical center from one of the most dramatic accidents IndyCar racing has ever seen on a road course at Road America in 2006. The rear wing on her Lola failed into one of the most dangerous corners on the course, the infamous kink. The car spun backwards into the wall, catching air underneath it, spectacularly flipping through the air, and then breaking in two as it landed back to earth. It's hard to believe that a crash that looks as violent as this one had such a happy ending.
Eldon Rasmussen, number 58, is in the yellow car, coming around turn number 2. And oh, we've got an axe. Sniva is on the wall. He goes into a terrible flip, and we have a fire. The engine is ripped from the back of the car and comes tumbling across. A.J. Ford was right behind him. He was able to avoid it somehow. But Tom Sniva is in the car. He's moving around. He's trying to get out. An incredible accident on turn number 68, Tom Sniva.
The very fact that Tom Sniva survived this accident, much less walked away from it, is an absolute miracle. This crash happening in the 1975 Indianapolis 500 after his Penske McLaren made wheel-to-wheel contact with Eldon Rasmussen. Sniva's car was then pitched backwards into the catch fence and wall, ripping the rear off of the car and causing a fire. Somehow, The chassis, well, what was left of it, managed to land right side up, and Sniva somehow was able to free himself from the car with the help of the safety workers and walk away. Again, there have been several crashes that have been similar to this one in the Indianapolis 500 in recent times, but I stress, this crash happened in the equivalent of a tin can. The fact that Tom Sniva walked away and survived is just, quite frankly, a miracle.
Gidley, neither one with an apparent ride next year.
Oh! Looks like Oriol Servia.
If you ever wondered about the importance of a Hans device, look no further than the 2001 kart race at Laguna Seca. This dramatic accident suffered by Oriol Servia, launching over the back of Mauricio Gugelmin's car, and then the front end of his Lola digging into the ground, suddenly stopping and pitching the car very, very high into the air, and then landing, thankfully, right side up. The sudden stoppage threw Servia's head forward and knocked the horseshoe surrounding his head out of the car entirely. The fact that Servia, let alone walked away from this one, but raced again shortly thereafter, is just yet again another miracle.
Whoa, shit. Yeah, I hope he's okay. Yeah, he's okay. I don't fucking believe that.
This amateur footage shot at the 1982 IndyCar race at Riverside, California may have captured the most incredible escape of all time, when Dick Simon's rear tire failed and it pitched his car into an outer dirt bank, flipping it several times, finally landing back on the track right side up, where miraculously Simon was able to extricate himself from the car, and with the help of some nice, kind 1980s Californians, was able to get off of the track and walk away. Now, this footage you may have seen before. It apparently was used in many driver's ed and drunk driving courses throughout the United States and possibly the world. But now you know the context of it, and it's certainly dramatic to see it in its full length and its full context, because when you consider that this was 1982 and very similar to the Tom Sniva situation, these cars were not nearly up to the safety standards of even 10 years later, much less to the safety standards of today. So the fact that Dick Simon was able to walk away from a crash that looks like this one in 1982 in essentially a Coke can for a race car, this is just incredible, and says a little bit of something to what I had talked about at the beginning of this video, which was the idea that man can and does conquer the machine. So that was And They Walked Away IndyCar edition. I hope you've enjoyed this and maybe learned something about some crashes that maybe you didn't know about. That was what I was kind of going for. There were obviously some obvious choices that I left out here, but you know, if you'd like to see another one of these, let me know down in the comments. There's certainly enough material out there to do a part 2, a part 3, even a part 4, I'm sure. So thank you guys so much for watching. Subscribe for more motorsport content. This has been David Land on YouTube, and I will see you in the next video.